What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podio Slate podcast. My name is Tony. I am joined by Anthony. Sometimes I call him Twan. Sorry, Twan. But yeah, we're back, man. We're back with another edition in the Nerdery Chronicles. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and that's a childhood nickname that I was going to say I haven't been able to shake, but I haven't actually tried to shake it. I think I've become content with it. And the backstory is, I'm pretty sure it started from Antoine Walker. We're from the Northeast, and from the Eastern Northeast, not from the Pacific Northwest, which we'll get into. But
yeah, and we'll get into the NBA here shortly too. That's right.
Wow, NBA that was like an unintentional segue here. But I'm doing good. What did we see for shows recently? We went down to New Hampshire. We saw Taproot a few days ago.
Yeah, that
was fun. Do you go to anything else?
No, I think the last show I went to was the Taproot show with you, which it was the first one I'd been to in a little while. We saw Bob Mould too a few weeks back.
Oh, that's right. So Bob Mould, Husker Du fame, and so I mean that shows the range right there, right? I mean that's two complete opposite bands, but we appreciate it all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that Taproot show was awesome. But by the way, I know this is now a couple of weeks back for us, but if you haven't checked them out on this kind of reunion that they've been doing, go see them. They put on a hell of a show. And if you like, anything in that world, we've got some episodes back there with Phil from the band. So check that out too.
Good stuff. So like it's funny, like that, like these recent run of like legacy acts that are either touring or putting out shows. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of a Twitter. I don't know who tweeted it. Someone tweeted out this question, which I'm going to ask you, and I haven't prompted you for this. I'm just going to hit you with it. Would you rather have a band that you like continue to tour or continue to put out new albums? Ooh. So like in the case of Taproot, they're actually doing both.
Right.
With Bob Mould, you'll never see another Husker Du album, but you'll see him play it in a different forum. He's playing it solo electric, that type of thing. But like, yeah, initial reaction to that. I'm so curious because my mind went in so many directions. I looked at bands I love. I looked at legacy bands. Like,
yeah, it's case to case, right? It's case to case. So like, if it's a band that's only got 2 records and I want a 3rd record from them, maybe I want them to put more records out. But if it's a band that's or an artist that's been around for 20 years and has a catalog of 10 records, I just want to see them live. Because I know, and there's so much to live with there. So yeah, that's tough.
It's the cop out answer, but like
it's the truth.
It depends on the band. I mean, take Deftones, probably one of my favorite bands of all time. At this point, I think I want another album. I've seen them a bunch.
Yeah,
and then you get a band like Knocked Loose. Mm-hmm. Just they come up in the conversation here shortly with Emma. Would I want to see them tour or another album? I think I want another album. Right. I've seen them live. I think It depends on your history with a band. But it was a cool question because if it was your favorite band of all time, that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, that's tough. And I guess I'd say I probably want to see them live and live that magic again. If it's my favorite band of all time, if I'm going to pick one.
Yeah. And it also like, what if they're a legacy act that's been around for 40 years? Maybe I don't want either one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it going to taint the legacy? Yeah.
Who knows? That's a good one. Think about that. Hey, if you out there are thinking this through, hit us up at Podio Slave everywhere or podioslavepodcast@gmail.com.
And the fun with all of this is there's that situation where there's a legacy band, tons of albums, they've toured their whole life, they're 60. Then there's the opposite end of the spectrum where there's bands that are doing both, right? Mm-hmm. New albums, tours, and that's my segue to Emma from Dying Wish, who we just chatted with for about 45 minutes. Great, objectively great conversation. And that's not just because I was part of it. She carried it. So let's give her flowers. But I loved it. I mean, you know me. If you follow us on socials, I've posted about the Fragments record from Dying Wish a few years ago. But they're back. Yeah,
they're back with Symptoms of Survival, which came out on November 3rd. So a couple weeks ago now on SharpTone Records. And they're touring. We talked to her on the 2nd day of the headlining tour, but they did Headbanger's Boat. They're probably a few weeks into that tour now and just crushing it right now. I mean, on all fronts, new record, headlining tour, music videos, doing the merch thing, driving the van, like busy people. And Emma was awesome. And the record's really cool. I'm newer to them than you are, Anthony, but I do like it, and we dig into the record pretty good here too.
Yeah, I would agree on all fronts, and I think up to this point in their career, this is the best time to talk with them. You know what I mean? Like they just put out, I think it's their best record. Like they had the demo, they had the split, they had fragments. I think this is their best record. It's fuller, it's production, it's all there. Emma crushes it, screaming, singing, the whole nine. But they're the biggest they've ever been. And that's interesting for a younger band. I mean, they've been around for 6 years. They're from the corner of the US, the other corner, which we may or may not talk about, but it's fascinating. It's to get to this point is from a fan's perspective, who's kind of been on to them for, 3 years or whatever. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. And then to be able to have conversations with them as well. Pretty amazing stuff. And we continue to say we're having pinch me moments. This is another one. And yeah, let's get into it. And Twan, I'm gonna say something right now that will make sense about midway through the conversation. Yo, we had Emma from Dying Wish on.
I love it.
Right now. Check it out.
All right. Live with Emma from Dying Wish. Emma, how you doing? How you feeling? You're in a tour bus right now, or a van, not a bus. How you doing?
Van. Yeah, no, I'm good. It's we're on a headliner right now, and we have a pretty limited amount of crew. As you can see, we don't have a lot of space in our vehicle, so working really hard every day, doing merch stuff, and preparing for shows. But I'm having a great time, and it's only day 2, but yeah, I won't say I'm tired yet because who knows how I feel in a week.
Right. Well, we got a connection, a special connection with you, which you don't even know about because you just met us 5 minutes ago. And that connection is Portland to Portland connection.
Portland, Maine. Shout
We're
out.
from Portland, Maine. Yeah, I've never been to Portland, Oregon, so I can't claim Portland, Oregon, but we're from Portland, Maine. I know that you spent a ton of time in the Pacific Northwest.
Mm-hmm. I've actually never been to Portland, Maine either.
Ooh.
It's time. Yeah. Find your, I mean, actually next summer, maybe when it's nice out, but because it's cold, it's getting cold now. And the sun, as you can see in our video, the sun is going down because it goes down super fucking early here.
But, yeah. I would love to. Actually, I have some friends moving out to Maine, I think next year. So we're going to go visit. I'm looking forward to it.
And we like to poke fun at the other Portland because we're the first Portland, and we're on the East Coast and all that stuff. But I everything I hear about the Pacific Northwest Portland is it's awesome. So no beef on our end.
No beef. If there was, it's squashed now. We're good.
No pit beef here.
Nope.
So Dame Dollars, he's gone. Are you mad about that or?
Not really. I think that it helped that we had literally a whole summer to prepare for the trade because he announced that he had requested one. But I think that him going to, I know he wanted to go to Miami. It would have been cool to see him in Miami, but I think him going to Milwaukee is a really cool move because it's a fun small market team. Giannis is such a likable guy. And
totally.
Yeah, and they've already won a ring in the last couple of years. I mean, so I'm excited for him, and we have a bunch of young guys, and it's going to be a tank year. But it's just fun as a lover of the league to see Dame in Milwaukee. Although I can't say I've really watched any of his games because it's still a little fresh. But
yeah, and you had him for so long, and he was so damn good. We appreciate getting Drew Holiday from you guys as Celtics fans, because Anthony and I are both Celtics fans. So
yeah.
And everybody hates the Celtics and hates the Northeast, but we appreciate that. So thank you.
I thought it was pretty messy of Portland to take Drew from Milwaukee and then send him to their top competitor. So that's pretty entertaining.
Intriguing.
And for anyone that didn't follow the last minute, Damian Lillard, formerly of the Trailblazers, is with the Bucks. NBA basketball for all you nons.
Yeah, Emma, did you think you'd be doing basketball talk today?
No, but I love it. I could talk about this forever.
Nice. We're try to change it up a little bit on you. You know what? We've got plenty of music questions too, but actually, let's dive into that. You've had, and you've said it, it's been the craziest week of your life. And I think even today we just saw you guys on the Kerrang cover. So pretty wild week for Dying Wish.
Head explosion
Crazy.
from a fan perspective. I'm like, there can only be one band on the cover of Kerrang, and it's you guys.
Aw, well, thank you. Yeah, that was really cool. And I think I mentioned it on my personal Twitter, but the guy who did the photos, his name is Ian. And when he was 17 years old, we did our like first like West Coast run, really. And he was on spring break from high school, and he came and took photos for us. And then now, you know, he just graduated high school or college and is like, he has his degree and he's trying to get into freelance. And we just hired him for the cover of Kerrang. So it felt like very full circle for like both of us, you know, Ian and his photography and us as a band.
That's crazy. Yeah, the photos look great. And like, so besides Kerrang, you got the album, you got the tour, you got Headbanger's Boat, you got, I'm sure, all the numbers, you know, coming in and everything. Is it the combination of all that? Like, there can only be one craziest week of your life, and this is it. So what else?
We just announced we're playing Download
Oh, nice.
in the UK
That.
and Rockville. Honestly, like, I'm just glad that we're like on tour while all of this is happening. We played our first like sold out headliner show ever in Atlanta last night. And so it just feels like finally, like, this is the culmination of like all of the 6 like years of hard work as a band. And so I love every second of it. It's really cool. And it's definitely overstimulating and you know, makes it hard to sleep at night, but it's exciting. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a good thing, right? It's positive overstimulation versus some of the other crap that we see just in the media and all that stuff. But really excited for you guys, and like you said, it's the culmination of all this work, the 6 years, and just grinding, playing shows, and finally now you're playing sold out headlining shows. Did younger Emma see this happening at all, ever?
No, never. Not even like.
I love it.
No, literally never. I mean, like I always thought, you know, I had these like dreams and aspirations, but I was like, well, I'm a normal person, and like stuff like this doesn't happen to normal people like me. And, you know, so I was always just kind of like a fan of the music, you know. And then one day I was like, well, I'll just start a band, you know, just as like a passion project. And now we're here, and it's like, I definitely didn't expect this and didn't see this coming. And I'm sure that there are going to be things that happen 2 or 3 years down the line that I never saw coming in our, you know, our like cycle of growth. But I never expected this. And like younger Emma, even like 21-year-old Emma would like freak out if they knew everything I was doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a spotlight on you guys. Clearly, I mean, Kerrang, like, does that? I mean, we're not in that position. We're not on the cover of Kerrang, but I wouldn't think anything could prepare you for that. It just kind of comes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, nothing could prepare us for that. And like when we got the Limp Bizkit tour, like for that text message, our manager, he always sends whenever something like big is about to happen, he always prefaces it with "yo" in the group chat. And then we all know, we're like, oh, something's about to happen. So whenever I see that "yo" text, I know it's gonna be good.
What was the "yo" followed up with for the Limp Bizkit tour?
I don't remember. I think it was like something of like, guess what the hell just came on my desk or something like that.
Wow.
And we were like, I don't know. And he was like, Limp Bizkit. And we were like, no way. No.
Is
fucking
this
way.
real? Is this real?
Shut up.
What year is this? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Anthony, I'm just going to start prefacing all the big news with "yo" in our group text from now on. I'm stealing that.
Emma said yes to coming on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
So when you guys started, did you have a plan or a goal? Was this kind of the plan or the goal, or was it just like, let's just get out there and see what happens?
The goal when we first started was to just play shows. I was booking shows. I still do occasionally, but I was like the main like hardcore promoter in the Portland area for a few years. And I was having all of these bands who wanted to come through, but I didn't really have a lot of bands to book on the shows. So I went to Pedro and Jeff, who played guitar and drums, and I was like, let's start a band. And so we just did it. And we started playing shows with like, like Vane, and we played the Knocked Loose headliner when they came through with like Terror, Jesus Peace, and Year of the Knife. And we just like kind of started to play all these shows and like really like, I guess you could call it like networking, but becoming friends with people who played in touring bands. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
I'm curious, having that booking background, are you looking at certain things on tour? You're like, load-in time should be this time. Like, this is not an adequate back setup. Like, are you, any of that come in?
We have a tour manager, Gabe. I used to tour manage, and he would sell merch and do photo, but I was just like, I don't want to have the responsibility of tour managing, especially not a headliner. So he's been tour managing for us for a couple years now. And we like, it's nice to be able to just like trust him that he's going to do it. But like, we kind of lean on each other because I have a lot of past experience as a promoter. I also worked in a venue as a production manager, and there's definitely times where I'm like, what is happening? But when we were on the boat, I think it like makes it like a little nerdy for me, because when we were on the boat, we had like the best artist experience ever. And I like my little production brain, like nerded out. Like this is like, yeah, this is just so well done. So I think if anything, it just kind of makes it like scratches an extra itch.
Well, and Donkey Kong was there. So
true.
I saw your tweet. I was like, that's amazing.
We think it was someone in Lamb of God's crew, because like how else would you get that on the boat? It was huge.
It's so cool.
It's so funny you say that. I just went on a cruise with my family. My kids are 2 and 3, so it's a very different experience than what you just had. But I'm thinking logistics. Like, how did they get all this on? Like, where are they playing? All that stuff. So yeah, that's a good point. Probably someone with one of the bands for the Donkey Kong.
Yeah. Probably had his own Donkey Kong road case or something.
Stuff it in the bass drum.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do it, man.
Mm-hmm.
You hide that stuff in there and get as much on as you can, right?
So Emma, starting out, you guys playing shows, probably building up a following locally. You're in the position where you're probably booking yourself. Early on, was there a band for you guys where it was like, all right, this is how you do it? Like the band you either played with or looked up to, like the older sister, older brother band?
Yeah, quite a few. I would say like Knocked Loose, totally one.
Yeah.
Vane at the time was like popping off, really, really huge, doing a lot of stuff. Who else? I would say like those are like the main two that we'd played shows with. And I mean, Knocked Loose is just like a perfect example of everything. How to do things the right way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stage presence, crowd interaction, how to literally balance everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially like with their tours, like when they do headliners, they like have a good balance of different kinds of bands on the tour. And then they also, when they support like they just did a Motionless in White tour. Like that's awesome. But then they could also do like, Lamb of God or whatever. So I think it's cool.
And when you guys can do that too. I mean, that's the cool part about being versatile and knowing what you're capable of. And starting out, you're playing shows and just kind of trying to get your name out there. But now you're getting ready for that second album to come out, which is now out, and it's phenomenal. We both are big fans, having listened to it a handful of times each. What was your headspace like getting that together? Just starting to write for it. Was there pressure? What did you feel like? Got to avoid the sophomore slump, label stuff, anything with that?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of wrote partially like Watch My Promise Die about that. Is this a path that's meant for me? How long must I grow to find comfort? Like, because I just felt like we were just growing so fast. I wasn't really feeling like I was able to keep up in a lot of ways. And, like I said, like we didn't start this band to like get a lot of like attention and notoriety. So that's something I didn't really do very well with when we started to pop off, was like how much attention we were getting, how visible I was. And so I struggled with that a lot. And LP1 was good, so there was a lot of pressure to follow that up. But I think that we're probably our toughest critics for sure. So once we got in there and like once we started writing and everything started to flow, it totally melted away. And I, in the back of my head, was like, wow, I can't believe I was so nervous about this. But it's definitely gotten much easier since everything's done and out of the way. And now it's just out of our hands and in the world, and we just let it happen.
I like that. Just let it happen, because this album, to me, I'm going to speak for the band probably. You probably couldn't have written it until this cycle. Do you agree? Like, I know Fragments is phenomenal, but this album, I think it's fuller, it's bigger, it's just bigger. I guess that's the best way to put it. And I think you had to do Fragments to get to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think if we would have started here with Symptoms of Survival, I don't think it would have made as much sense as it does because we launched from Fragments.
Agree. You said it way better than I did. You said it way better than I was getting to.
It's okay. Like you said, I was like paraphrasing from like how we think about it. It definitely makes sense that way.
So yeah, the new album, Symptoms of Survival, came out on November 3rd on SharpTone Records. It's been out in the world now for a little bit. For us, in this world, us talking to you today, 5 days, but when people hear this, it'll be a couple of weeks. So you're out supporting it. So what's it like? What's it been like playing a couple of those songs live? Were you like, I didn't do myself any favors writing these songs? They're way more difficult than I thought they were going to be. Or are you just crushing it?
I think the one that, really gets me is Lost in the Fall. It's towards the end of the set. It's the second to last song that we play. And of course, it has that epic ending with that really like high, like buzzy, sustained note. And by the time we get there, I'm like, oh, so
you gotta play earlier in the set. You gotta.
Yeah, I mean, but I like to challenge myself, and I know that if we play it there, it just works so perfectly because we play Paved in the first half of the set. So it kind of allows on either side of the set for like this space and gives everyone a little bit of a breather. So we're not asking them to, cooperate constantly, like physically.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a breather. And we're like album sequence nerds, like to the point where it's like that band should have opened with this and all this stuff. So I think you guys nailed it. I guess they'll get that out of the way. But Paved in Sorrow, probably the softest song you ever done, followed by Tongues of Lead. I think it could be the heaviest song. So was that intentional to piggyback those?
No. I wish I had the original. We had a track listing once we picked. Okay, so this is the order of how it happened. We had a track listing of 13 songs after we tracked guitars. And originally Tongues of Lead was track 1 because we wanted to kind of follow the formula originally of how Cowards Feed just comes out like that. But after we did, vocals, and it just totally changes the way that a record sounds when you add vocals to it. Then we were like, actually, it'd be really cool to start in an entirely different way with the song that sounds nothing like what we've done before. So then we switched it. But then our compromise was, if you're listening on vinyl, then Tongues of Lead is the first song on side B.
Wow.
So
my head exploded again for the second time in this interview.
Awesome.
That's great that you are cognizant of the different formats, right? I mean, like, obviously, if you queue it up on Spotify, you're not going to get it that way necessarily, but people buy physical media. We are huge vinyl heads. You can see Anthony's behind him. Mine's about 200 feet that way or 20 feet that way. And it's definitely an experience, and you want it to kind of pop off that way. So it's really cool you guys thought of that. Like, let's start that side with this song. So we still get that effect, but not necessarily to start the record.
Right. Yeah.
That's
I think
smart.
that a vinyl experience is a special one. And I still think it transitions really nicely on Spotify too.
So speaking of tracks and track listing, we did a whole episode that we called Last Track Magic, which is album closers that just, they land the plane of the album perfect. And I think Lost in the Fall does that brilliantly. Was that always the closer?
Yes.
Like, once Dying Wish starts throwing in some piano, like, that's the last track.
Right. Yeah. That was always the closer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
It's just I'm also a huge nerd for like closing tracks. So we wanted to just really wrap it up.
So you've got four music videos, right? Paved in Sorrow, Path to Your Grave, Torn from Your Silhouette, and Lost in the Fall all have
And Watch
music
My
videos.
Promise Die.
Oh, so you five? That
Oh, I
is,
missed one. I haven't seen one of them.
I know. Yeah, jeez. So that's kind of a lost art to have that many.
Mhm.
100%.
Was that you guys wanting to put that together and have the visual aspect for these songs, or was it label, or was it both?
Yeah, we wanted to have as much like video content out there, but we also didn't want to like spoil Paved in Sorrow, which is why it came out like 2 days ago instead of, before the record. And then that gave like a little bit of time, like a month or so between each track to like really let everything kind of, breathe. But we definitely just wanted content to accompany the tracks. Like I think that music videos are timeless. So that's something that we love videos and like live DVDs and stuff like that. So we'll always lean pretty heavy into that.
And we're geeks, so we're reading between the lines. To me, that screams SharpTone is all in on you guys, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I love Sean and Beth at SharpTone. They're awesome, and I'm so glad that we made that decision. We've been really lucky to sign with Tandem Management and Sound Talent and SharpTone. We just have like the trifecta team.
It's working. I mean,
yeah,
like this is. I would assume this is like peak Dying Wish up to this point. Like, and it's very rare. Like we've interviewed probably 100 bands, musicians. It's very rare that we get a band at their literal peak. Sometimes on the way up, sometimes on the way down. Like, I still think you're going up, but like up to this point, it's pretty cool.
Thank you.
We're not in the band, and we're excited.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I can tell how excited everyone is for us right now, and it's cool because like, we definitely were the underdogs. I think we got that vibe.
Yep. Do you guys ever stop and smell the roses?
Not as often as I think that we should, if I'm being honest. But
because we're the same. Like it's always like, what do we get? We have to do something next. Like, what's the next thing we're putting together? Who's the next artist we're talking to? How do we make this so that everybody's gonna like it? And sometimes you got to take that step back and be like, look at what we've done. Not to be done with it, but just look how we got here, man. Like we did it. Or in your case, look at all five of us getting to this point. This is pretty awesome.
I think that point for us will probably be our headlining show in Portland in a couple weeks. I think that's going to be the moment where it all just like hits,
And so let's dig into that. You're out on tour. At the time of recording, I would assume you're in North Carolina, right? You said you did Soundtrack, right?
We're in Greensboro right now.
Greensboro, yeah.
Yes,
so
at a hangar 1819.
Did I fuck that up? Is it South Carolina? Oh, that is North Carolina, Greensboro.
Yeah.
So what's different making that leap besides the obvious from opener to headliner? Obviously, it's longer set times, it's all this stuff, but what does the average fan not realize that comes with that?
It's so much pressure, like, because we put all of these bands on here because we love them and they're crushing it every night. And so it's like you watch every single band come out and like crush their show. And it's like, well, fuck, now it's my turn. Like, and then it's like, how am I going to be able to like, how am I going to match that? So like that, like comparativeness is hard as a headliner because it's kind of like a known rule that like direct support is always going to play to the most people, in the room. And then like, bodies kind of trickle out as the headliner happens. Sometimes sometimes it's worse than others, but it's been like a great reaction so far, but I definitely get nervous following Boundaries every night because they're really good. And Foreign Hands, obviously. I would say like that's the main thing.
Well, it can go the other way too. Like I remember seeing Brendan from Bleeding Through do an interview, and they were talking about Hatebreed, and he was like, Jamie told me that the reason we were never invited on a Hatebreed tour is because he was afraid we were going to outperform him. so like
awesome.
I'm sure there's an element of that. Like Foreign Hands, like they can bring it. A little worried.
Yeah. I'm listening to them sound check right now. They sound amazing.
Well, and it keeps you guys at the top of your game, right? You've got to be ready every night because you've got great support playing in front of you. So there's no resting there. It's like, nope, we got to go out and crush it too because they just did it again. Our turn. Let's go.
Yep, absolutely.
The thing that's one of the few things that's certainly admirable is you still headlining. So just let's get this out there. These rooms are like 500-600 cap rooms. Like these are big venues. Like in our neck of the woods, you'll be playing Upstairs Palladium, 600 cap plus. I think you're still doing your own merch. You're in a van. At some point, are you still going to be able to do that? Have you thought about that? Like the Dying Wish strategy of like, at what point do we let this go?
Yeah. Once we make money.
There you go. Yeah. And that's what most fans don't realize. Yep.
Oh yeah. Like people, like I forget. I was doing an interview and someone was like, "Oh yeah, like, are you in a bus?" I was like, "No, God, no. I would be so poor. I would be so in debt." But yeah, once we start making money, I think, and because we have a front of house and a tour manager separately, so we have 7 people in the van. We're not going to be able to fit an 8th person in here. So once we get to the point where we can't sell our own merch, we're going to have to be in a bandwagon, but that's like such a high level of expense. And it's like, are we willing to, sacrifice that to like the luxury of making our lives a little bit more comfortable on tour? It's kind of like that balance.
Well, and you're doing the DIY thing, which you've done from the start, where you're out there pressing the flesh and meeting fans and selling stuff at the table. And at some point, yeah, it's nice to get have maybe a little breathing room from that. But do you you must still like doing some of that, seeing fans, being connected to fans that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's like my favorite part. I think that's what makes everything, kind of worth it. Not like totally, but I like knowing who our fans are, and like bridging the gap of like, you're a fan and I'm an artist. Like, how can I get to know you personally and thank you for coming to the show? Because this is an ecosystem in this room every day. And you're just as important to that ecosystem as me or, the person who booked the show or the bartender or whatever.
I'll say this. Part of me envies people that are in bands. Another part of me is like, I want no part of that because there's so much to think about. It's like at a band at your level, like at what point do you think about meet and greets and how that would be perceived and what tour to take and what tours to decline and the optics of that? Like it's a delicate dance, and the ones that can do it great, knock loose. Like it's rare for someone to really balance all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely talked about the idea of doing a meet and greet on this tour, and we were like, no, like that just seems weird right now. But eventually, I can't meet if we're playing to thousands of people, like I can't meet everyone. So I don't really see it in my future soon of doing like a meet and greet, but because of our background, I can definitely see people like getting offended by it, which is like whatever,
100%. Oh yeah.
But yeah.
But again, it goes back to people not realizing A, the ecosystem, and B, the economics of it aren't what everybody thinks. Like, oh, you're headlining, you must be raking it in. No, still grinding because this industry is not that easy. Even if you're on the cover of Kerrang, it's not that easy.
Absolutely.
Emma, what about the merch tips? Don't those like carry you to the next gig?
Boy.
Come on.
I mean, they do because we sell our merch, so we take them. Yeah, that whole thing it's like, if you want merch tips, literally, I can't stress this enough. I load in merch, set up merch every day. I sound check, I do press, I have dinner, I watch the bands, I get ready for our show, and then I meet people, count merch, tear it down, load it in the van. that's what you do if you want your merch sellers tips. You do it yourself. You earn it. And I get that, like, whatever, people aren't from America and they like don't understand the like ethics behind tipping, but that's not our problem, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Emma, you could make my head explode for the third time. Do you drive? Are you a driver in the band?
Yes.
Wow. Explosion number 3.
Yeah. We all drive except for our crew, Gabe and our front of house Brian. We don't make them drive, but the 5 of us rotate and we drive overnight. So we leave the venue and go to the next city. We park at a Planet Fitness. That way, when we wake up, everyone can go in and take a shower, and then we go on with our day.
Wow. Yeah. And that it just gets back to it, man. It's so difficult out on the road. Even as a headliner, you've got to go buy that T-shirt. Go buy that record from the merch booth. Go out and see the bands, because it keeps it all going. Otherwise, we don't have any of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We make our money off of merch. Everything else goes in the gas tank, so we appreciate it.
We talked about it briefly. You just got back from Headbanger's boat. Crazy lineup. I've been on cruises like 6 times, and like I said, like the logistics of it just fascinate me. How was that experience? Because it was like 5 days. How did you play 5 times? Do you play every night or?
No, so it was 4 days, 4 nights, and we ported in Bahamas on day 2 and went to the beach, and you had like until 5:30 p.m. to go to the beach. So we did that. And then that day we played later at like 8 o'clock. The next day we had a day off, but we still had to do a signing, but every band had at least 1 day off. I know Lamb of God only played twice. I think like War only played twice. So, everyone had like at least 1 day off, which was really nice to just be able to like enjoy the experience.
Did you share equipment? Was that part of it?
Yeah, they had a back line.
Right on.
Yeah. So that was pretty much taken care of for us. We just brought our instruments and our breakables and like our live rack case and stuff.
Do you bring your own mic?
I do.
Nice. Yeah, we've heard mixed. Like, I think it was Sully from Grove Street over in the UK. He's like, I don't have a mic. I just show up. Yeah. And other bands are like, I have mic. Like, I want to use my own shit.
I even have a hard time like putting my mic. I've already gotten sick already on this tour. I have a hard time like putting my mic out into the crowd sometimes because I think about that stuff, but I don't want to share like mics with other people on the tour package, just trying not to get sick. But, I also use the mic that works best for my voice and my performance, which some people like don't really care about that. That's fine. But whatever, like some people, especially just streamers, can sound good just through an SM58, but I like to use a little bit of a different microphone.
Yeah, I mean, you have an instrument. It's not, strapped around your neck like a guitar, but it's absolutely, you should have the thing that optimizes that. And we totally get that. That makes sense to me. You want to sound as good as you can every night, so you should be using what you're comfortable with. And I'm with you. I would want my own microphone, just be, not putting it out into the crowd, not handing it off to another performer who knows what they've been doing all day. I'm all set with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Looking forward, 2024, you're going out with August Burns Red to Europe. Massive rooms. Like, I did some little Googling here. 1,500, 1,600 cap rooms. These are, look at other bands in different genres that are playing those same gigs. It's no joke. So excitement, nervousness. What's going on, Emma?
So excited. The goal for next year was to really get into the festival circuit, whether that's here or overseas. And we've done Europe twice now. It's okay for us, but I think once you really get into that European festival circuit, that's when you kind of start to pop there, because everyone does festivals out there. Metal is just huge. So that was our goal for next year. And there are at least 3 or 4 Empiricon festivals on that run that we're going to be a part of because of, supporting ABR. So that's going to be a big deal for us. Obviously, ABR is one of those bands that influenced our sound. And, I think it's just going to be overall a really good third tour for us there.
Yeah, and you're right. Getting on that festival circuit out there just puts you in front of so many people. So that's a smart play. And get over there, play 1,500 cap rooms with August Burns Red. That'll be a badass bill.
Yeah, and there's other bands on it too that are. I know of at least one that's really awesome. So hopefully we'll see when that gets announced.
Oh, you're not going to break news? All right.
I can't.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So Emma, I'm a spoiled music fan and live music fan. I hate barricades. So I assume these gigs have barricades. Where are you at on the other side of the fence as the performer with barricades?
Personally, I don't like a barricade. However, I will rock one. A festival, like, it makes sense, or like an ABR show, like, I get why bands do it. And but for me, like, because of how much interaction we ask for, I think it's much more safe to have people get on stage and stage dive than it is to have the possibility of a security person in the barricade potentially drop them, or the security person hurt themselves trying to catch them. So just like, because of how much interaction we ask for, I think that it just makes more sense for our shows not to have a barricade.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because you realize there's gonna be a time when playing venues without barricades is gonna be very tricky. You're gonna have to do the paper to call for blood, like under a secret name, like Fragments. Fragments is playing local Portland VFW. Like that day's coming, Emma.
That's sick.
That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be awesome. To have those covert shows where you can pull that off. So Emma, we'll wrap. We'll get you out of here. Go have some dinner. Go watch Foreign Hands and Boundaries, and go crush it on stage tonight.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope we get to make it out to Portland soon, Maine.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You will. You, on that visit, whatever it takes, we'll try to make, if we can facilitate it somehow, we'll make it happen.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, thanks, y'all. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Emma.
Sweet.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Podio Slave. We are at Podio Slave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podio Slave Podcast. YouTube, Podio Slave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you.